So first and foremost, sorry for the hair. Did that whole thing where I got a shower before recording, so if my hair looks a little wet and messy, it's because of that. And I wanted to hop on here today because I wanted to talk all about my long weekend getaway in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm going to pronounce it the absolute best that I can because I know it's not Louisville. No, rookie mistake. So I'm going to say the city's names as if I have a mouthful of marbles, but if I'm still messing up the pronunciation, I wanted to apologize in advance. But anyway, don't sleep on Louisville, Kentucky. There is so much to see and do. I seriously could have spent a lot longer than 3.5 days, and I did not see everything that I wanted to, so I know I definitely want to go back. But whether you're traveling solo, with family and friends, you'll find so much to enjoy and experience. The food was amazing. The people were so friendly and awesome. And of course, I can't forget the bourbon. Oh my gosh, the bourbon. I miss the bourbon so much. And yeah, so I have a lot to cover here, but I really hope that this video helps you plan a trip to Louisville, Kentucky. So let's go. First of all, we have to start with the bourbon. Louisville, Kentucky is part of the Bourbon Trail, which is iconic. Now, contrary to popular belief, bourbon does not have to be made in Kentucky, but let's be honest with ourselves. Bourbon is the best in Kentucky, and in Louisville, there's so many places to try bourbon. If you're not a fan of just having it straight up, you could also do a lot of bourbon cocktails that are delicious. However, something that's really important, if you want to book tastings, you must do that well in advance. Some of the most popular tastings can even book months ahead of time, which is crazy, but it's really important to consider when you're traveling here. So if you have your heart set on a certain distillery, for example, I know Rabbit Hole is really popular, then book those ahead of time. Otherwise, feel free to just wander, pop into different distilleries or bars and try a cocktail. And just because you don't have a tour booked in a specific place doesn't mean you can't try the bourbon. So have fun with that. Bourbon, enjoy. As a side note, it's really obvious that the Bourbon Trail extends far outside Louisville. If you do not have a rental car with you, some tours do go outside of the city to Bardstown, for example. And these guided tours are great because you don't have to worry about driving as you're enjoying all the bourbon. But like the tastings and the distilleries themselves, these guided tours do sell out well in advance. It happened to me, which is why I missed out on Bardstown, but it's a good excuse to go back. But again, just keep in mind that the bourbon tours are very super popular, so you do need to book those in advance, whether it is a tasting or a guided tour outside of Louisville to go to the Bourbon Trail. So what else is there to do in Louisville, Kentucky besides bourbon? Well, the city is a little bit different in the sense that while downtown has a lot of the museums, other neighborhoods are really awesome and are well worth exploring. So off the top of my head, I can think of 3 neighborhoods that are well worth your time in visiting, and those would be New Lou, Old Louisville, and the Highlands. So let's talk about each one. So let's start with New Lou, which is kind of like the hipstery area. There's so many cool places to go. I really love this candy store in particular. It was fantastic. You can get a lot of specialty treats here, which are delicious, and your sweet tooth will be really thrilled. New Lou also has a lot of cool festivals going on throughout the year, as well as lots of fun street art. And you really can't go wrong with shopping and eating in this area. It's not really big, so it's easy to see everything in an afternoon. Next on the agenda, you definitely want to check out the Highlands, which is where a lot of the Irish immigrants settled. You'll find a ton of really awesome Irish bars, as well as several beautiful homes in this area. I loved walking around and admiring the architecture. And furthermore, if you have the time, you can take a food tour throughout the Highlands. We did a food tour with Louisville Food Tours, and it was fantastic. It took several hours to go through all the stops, but each one was amazing. We had incredible cocktails, as well as that good Irish pub grub at those incredible pubs. And if you have further time, you can even head over to the cemetery where Muhammad Ali and Colonel Sanders are buried. Last but not least, one of my favorite neighborhoods to check out is Old Louisville, and I highly recommend this area if you are interested in history history. They do walking tours specifically geared toward history in this area, as well as ghost tours. If you want something a bit more spooky and fun, you can do a ghost tour as well. This neighborhood is also home to a really good restaurant called 610 Magnolia, which I highly recommend if you have the budget to splurge on really good food. But all in all, Old Louisville is one of my favorite areas to just take a walk, admire the architecture, look at all the stunning Victorian homes, and pretend as if I own one, because I really would love a Victorian house of my own one day. And it's absolutely wonderful. Please do not skip it. It feels like a legit fairy tale, and it was one of my favorite things to do in all of Louisville. It was so unique, and I definitely want to come back. So something else to keep in mind is that all of these neighborhoods are pretty spread out. So if you do not have a rental car with you, you will have to take Uber or Lyft. But these are everywhere, especially because think about it. You have the Bourbon Trail. You don't want to have people drinking and driving all over the place. So it's really easy to get a ride share, and it makes all of these neighborhoods accessible even if you don't have a car with you. So now let's talk about the museums, because Louisville is also home to many amazing museums. In particular, I'm going to talk about 3 of them that I did on my visit, but there are many, many more, so please don't miss out. Even if you're not a museum person, I do think that these are all really incredible to see, and they're really unique to the city as well. First and foremost, no visit to Louisville would be complete without visiting the iconic Churchill Downs, which is home of the Kentucky Derby. And there is a really amazing museum that you can visit any time of the year. And they also take you out onto the track, which is a really amazing experience. I have never really followed horse racing, but after a visit here, I definitely want to go to one. And with that being said, even if it's not Derby week, you can always go to a horse race. The track is open throughout the year. There was actually a race when we visited the museum, but we didn't buy tickets ahead of time. But it could be a really cool experience if you're inclined to try it out. And like the other experiences in Louisville, just make sure that you're booking in advance, because those track tours that are included with your ticket do sell out. So you want to be careful of that. Another museum that I highly recommend is located in downtown Louisville, and that is the Fraser Museum, which dives deep into Kentucky history. There are a ton of fantastic exhibits that you can see. And of course, there is an extensive exhibit on bourbon. So if you are on your bourbon kick, this museum does not disappoint, although it does have a lot of other cool exhibits as well, including sports in Louisville, the history of the state as a whole, and it's just a really good place to get lost for a couple of hours. And what I also loved about this museum is it's affordable. They had discounts for seniors as well as discounts for teachers, which was fantastic for me because I'm a teacher. So if you're a history buff, definitely don't miss this one. And finally, one of the most famous museums in all of Louisville is the Louisville Slugger Museum. If you are a fan of baseball, then this is an absolute icon that you cannot miss. It is so fun, and even though I've never played baseball or softball, I had an amazing time. You can go on a factory tour, which is really super cool, and you can see how the bats are made, and you're given a little souvenir bat to take with you afterwards. And there's also a batting cage, which turns out to be a lot of fun. Like I said, do not play softball, but this was one of the best highlights of my trip. I just thought it was great and a fun way to get involved with the museum. But as a side note, if you do go on the factory tour and you do get the bat, just make sure that you check your luggage because they will not let you through TSA if you have a bat with you. It's considered a weapon. So just make sure that if you're going to take those bats with you, that you do check your bags when you go home, because you don't want to be running into any serious problems whatsoever. And lastly, if you have a particular athlete who you're a major fan of, you can hold their bat, which is really awesome. I had a chance to hold Derek Jeter's bat, which was really super cool. Now for a bonus museum, do not skip out on the 21C Hotel. These hotels are located all throughout the Midwest, and they have free art exhibits. So definitely stop by. The art is really interesting and a lot of fun. I have to give you all a warning. Do not Do not come to Louisville, Kentucky if you are on a diet or if you want to count your calories, because the food is outstanding. It is so good. And this is really a foodie city. So it's not the sort of place you want to go if you're ready to get fit and buff. It's the place you want to go if you're planning on indulging, because the food, I miss the food so much, but I couldn't eat like that every day. Otherwise, I would be in trouble. But yeah, the food, fantastic, wonderful. I know I mentioned the food tours already. You definitely want to look into them if you are a foodie of any sort, and you're just going to fall in love with the food. There's really nothing else to say. It is fantastically good. Obviously, I cannot talk about the food without discussing the hot brown, which is a Louisville staple. It was invented in the Brown Hotel, which is absolutely beautiful. If you have the budget, I do recommend staying at the Brown, but if you can't, definitely come just to have a hot brown. It is made of Texas toast, bacon, turkey, cheese, tomato. It's amazing. Furthermore, there are a lot of other types of food to try if that doesn't interest you. Louisville, like I said, a great place to go for some delicious food. One of my favorite stops that I made on this trip was 610 Magnolia and Ruby Jeff's Steakhouse, but there are just like so many iconic and fun places to go for the food. So enjoy, don't miss out on the food, because your stomach will leave Louisville feeling very, very happy. Before I wrap up this video, I just want to give a shout out to the locals, because they were just so welcoming and kind and so proud of their city, and they really did make this weekend trip down the Louisville, Kentucky special. So if you're looking for a trip where you will be surrounded by really cool, amazing, fun people, don't skip this city, because the people, they really and truly are awesome, and I already miss them now that I'm back home. So I hope you enjoyed this video about all the things that I did in Louisville, Kentucky over a long weekend. Obviously, there are many, many more. There's only so many hours in a day. But like I said earlier in this video, don't sleep on Louisville, Kentucky. It really is an amazing place to go. I went with my mom and had the best time, but it would also be a really fun city to go solo to, or with friends. I saw quite a few bachelor and bachelorette parties, so that could be another really good option for you. But yeah, it's just an all in all awesome city, and you should definitely check it out. So I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, I'm going to do a little announcement at the end to please subscribe to my channel. It really does help me. And if you like what you see, I also have a blog and an Instagram and a TikTok. So all of that information can be found in the description. And I will see you in the next one. Until then, enjoy your travels. See you guys.